There we go. Hey everyone. Let me see here how off light. There we go. Hello everyone. Thanks so much for hopping on. Hope that your week is starting off very well. Hope you had a lovely weekend. See here. Yes, and good morning or good afternoon, good evening, right? Depending where you're tuning in from. Hi, Brenda. Hi, Diana. Oh, wow, that's wonderful. It's 78 today in Orlando. Oh gosh, it is very chilly here. I don't even know. I went out, but what? Oh, it's 43. Yep. And we were out earlier because we had an early morning appointment for my shots, and it was so chilly. And I made the mistake of while I was wearing a cardigan, another sweater, and my jacket, which was fine. But then I left the house wearing ankle socks because I just didn't think about it. And so even though I was wearing long pants and my sneakers, my ankles were freezing. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the wind would hit and yeah. Um I was like, that was a bad day for me to pick ankle socks. I was like, I am so cold. My feet were just so cold. Oh hi. Yeah, Jamie, hi. I think I'm okay. Um yeah, there's just been a lot going on. Um there was some good news. So I had a little bit of a scare. Um oh yeah, Jamie, definitely. I'll meet you in a second. I had a little bit of a scare. There was something on my back. It was like a mole, but it was weird and it came out of nowhere. It was not there before, and so we panicked. Um, but we got it taken care of, and it thankfully it was nothing for us to be worried about. It was just the fact that I kept scratching. I didn't know. I thought I got like a bug bite or something, like a mosquito bite or something, and yeah. So when Brian was like, "No, there's a mole. You didn't have a mole there," and we literally went through, gosh, just hundreds of photos in our albums of like beach days and things like that from like the summer just to see if we could have a good view of like my back in a recent picture. Um and so yeah, so get that definitely get that checked out if you ever see like a weird mark appear on your body, and especially if it's itchy or burns or anything like that. Go get it checked out because you never know. You never know. Thankfully, in our case, it was nothing. Like for me to be worried about, it was just a normal, benign spot. And so they had to freeze it off with liquid nitrogen, I guess, right? So they put like this really cold treatment. Um, and yeah, so that was like a little bit of a roller coaster there because we got very nervous for a bit. Um, but no, thankfully, thankfully it's okay. Um, and yeah. So um, yeah. But thank you for checking in, and yeah, so I it was like a last minute thing, and we had to move things around, and yeah, that was like I had to schedule the appointment at that time. Um, oh my gosh, 19 degrees and snow in Colorado. Oh my gosh. Over the weekend here, it was pouring. On Saturday, it was like hurricane. You literally would go out and just the the umbrella was just being ripped in all directions. And the rain, just the force that it was coming down with, and people were completely soaked to the bone. That was crazy. Yeah, we were on flood watch. It was really we had a really crazy weekend, and I know quite a few of my friends that live in upstate New York lost power. So think it's been last couple crazy days with with climate. Um, Jamie, let me unmute you and add a spotlight. There we go.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Hi. Yeah, you're good.
Good, good. Okay, the time has finally come. You see this
Your
giant behind me?
ficus. Yes.
Yes, the time. Oh, I dropped my pen and I need to take notes. Wait a minute.
No worries.
Okay, hear everything falling off the table behind me. It's a very small space, which we're coming to. Um, it's the one I've told you once. I found it in the garbage and dragged it in. Could be 30 years ago, actually. It's never been replanted, and I know
Okay.
it's time. Um, it is in a pot that's 15 inches across and about a quarter of that on each side is the edges.
Okay.
I can't see if there's any roots coming out the bottom because I can't turn it under, but I don't see any coming out from the pot that I can see. But the top roots are going around in a circle and they look
Ah.
pretty thick, almost like branches. I'm alone. I had no one to help me with this, but I have a friend who's coming at end of April, right? He's going to stay with me for 2 days, and he's from Colorado. I said, I'll have to check his weather, Brenda. He's there. He's going to stay with me, and he said he'd help me. So I'm planning to buy a drop cloth for the floor, and we'll have to move the furniture and push it on its side. So I'm asking about, I have to get a new pot. I was
Hmm.
looking online and it's hard to find. It's like a nursery pot. It's rubber. It was happy in there, so I want to keep it in that kind of a pot. The pot is about 15 inches across and about a foot tall. What size pot should I go to?
Okay.
My first
Yes.
question.
So, so firstly, you don't want to do a big dramatic size, like leap in size. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, you're gonna want to when you do remove the plant, you want to do your best to very, very softly kind of try to uncoil some of those big roots because what's happening is a process called girdling. So basically, it starts to kind of go in a circle and it eventually starts to suffocate itself.
Oh,
It
well,
strangles itself.
yeah, hopefully there's some roots not as big lower down because the top
Yes,
ones are almost as big as branches.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So those the small like usually like the secondary roots, the tertiary roots, those are like the smaller ones that kind of branch out.
Yeah.
They should be fine. Uh, so it's just kind of like just slow, just very softly kind of trying to uncoil it a little bit so that they stop kind of growing in that circle. In terms of size, so I would say if possible, maybe speak to if you can get in contact with a local nursery, like a plant nursery, because what you're looking for seems to be a nursery pot. So you can ask if they have a slightly larger nursery pot that they would be willing to sell you. And so
What?
I would say probably, I mean, you want to go maybe like 2 inches, maybe 17 to 18 inches.
17 to 18 inches. Okay.
And you said
And
it's like a foot tall.
the pot now is about a foot tall
So I would say like at the most 15 inches at the most,
for the tall, huh?
um, for the height. Yeah.
And if they have less, if they have like another foot one or something, is it going to be okay if the width is bigger?
Mean, it should be. So if it because it seems like it's an older plant, it's probably because kind of like bonsais where they kind of get trained into that small space, so they end up being having very shallow roots. So it's not
Uh-huh.
how maybe the tree would typically behave, but it's just that's how it's gotten used to. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, if you're able to give it just a little bit more depth, it will start to kind of grow deeper, which is a good thing. Um, but you just don't want to make it super, super deep. If you end up
Okay.
getting another one that's about a foot, but you give it a little bit more room on
Oh,
the
okay.
sides, uh, then that, I mean, that should be fine.
Okay.
because it'll just allow them to kind of spread. So that's what you want. It's more so allowing them to kind of spread and not strangle themselves.
Okay.
Because what's happening is if that root ball kind of spirals, it kind of creates kind of like a wall almost. Like there's no space between the roots because they kind of clench, and so then they're going in a circle. And what's happening is it starts to one deprive them of oxygen, right? And so then the roots can start to die. And then another thing is it also impairs them from taking in water because they're like so squished together. Um, and then thirdly, they start to kind of put pressure on other roots that can cut off circulation, and so parts of roots can die, and then that ends up messing with the entire plant. So I
No.
think it's more important at the moment to kind of get a little bit more width. If you're able to get that height, you know, maybe at least 2 to 3 inches, maybe at the most. Um, but yeah, I think I'm not sure how big the gallon nursery pots are. Um, the dimensions of the, let's see here, dimensions of a gallon nursery pot. So it looks like you could actually buy these nursery pots at Home Depot for like $2.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful. Home Depot is the only place I can walk to.
oh, that works. I'm just looking up the dimensions here, specifications. Ba, ba, ba. This one, it's small. So it's 6.5 across and 7 inches in height. Okay, so not a 1 gallon, but that doesn't mean that you can't let me see if maybe a 3 gallon, let's say 3 gallon. Also at Home Depot for $3. Let's see those dimensions,
Okay.
product details. That is 10 across and 9 1/8 height. All right, so man, maybe 5 gallons, but it looks like you can get these at Home Depot. Let's see, five
That's fine.
gallons.
I looked at online Home Depot, but I was just looking up flower pot, and
Mm,
finding it. So nursery pot, I should be looking up. I
yeah,
also know someone who works in a nursery. I'm going to ask her if they have it where she works. Um,
yeah,
Also,
try.
um, soil, which I hope to get at Home Depot. What kind
Mm-hmm.
should I buy? Just regular
Uh,
houseplant?
s- so you want it to be well draining, uh, but it has that capacity to still hold on to some moisture because they don't necessarily they want to dry out, but they don't want to get completely bone dry. I would recommend there are tropical potting mixes that already come kind of pre-prepared. Um, those will have like wood chips, they will have perlite, so those like white little styrofoam
Yeah.
looking balls,
I know
right?
Home Depot sells perlite.
Yes,
I probably need some more for this big thing, but could I get regular soil and just add the perlite to it?
you could. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
As
you
I
could
said,
get
I'm kind of,
a good
I don't,
potting mix.
yeah, I don't want to get giant bags and have them delivered to the apartment building I live in.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. You can
one
just
more
mix a
question.
lot of their
Children's
lot of
soil,
perlite in there.
perlite. Okay. Oh, I dropped a pot recently that had perlite in it. Everything spilled across the floor. I think there's going to be perlite for the rest of my life. But one more question about
Sure.
it's almost time now that we're going into April to start fertilizing. Should I He's coming at the end of April, so it'll be done like maybe the last day in April. Should I fertilize before? Should I fertilize afterward?
Hmm. In terms of, I would say I would wait until after you have repotted it and given it um maybe even like 2 to 4 weeks to kind of
Okay.
acclimate. So I wouldn't do
Okay.
it immediately. Um,
Okay.
only
Can
because
I,
it goes through like it can go through some stress because of the transition. So
yeah,
you
I
don't want to
imagine.
add some extra stress because the fertilizers can actually like take
Okay.
water like away from it. And if the roots are kind of in a compromised position, you definitely don't want to add any extra strain or things like that to them. So I would
Can,
wait a little bit.
okay. Can I prune it before I
Yeah,
repot?
yeah,
Okay,
sure, sure.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
It's
pruning is
probably
fine.
gonna freak out and my whole house is gonna be covered with leaves. But because
Yes,
that's what
so
they do.
don't panic. It might very well drop quite a
I
substantial
know
amount
they
of leaves.
likes to
Um,
do that.
yes, I would say to water at least 1 to 2 days before you repot
Oh, okay. That's a good 1 to 2
so it's nice
to
and hydrated.
four
Um,
pot. Okay.
yeah, just so
All
it's
right.
nice and hydrated so that once you transfer it over, and you kind of give it some time to just settle in, it's not already bone dry and then it can't take up more water and that can cause it more stress. So it's nice and hydrated and then you can kind of let it settle in and then give it another watering like in a week or so
Thank you.
to give it.
I'm s-
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have all this expert advice. There it is.
No, I'm happy to help. I'm looking one more time here. So it looks like I'm going up in the gallons. So 7 gallon nursery pot. Again, you can get it at Home Depot, but it's saying it is 12 across and 14 high. So we're getting closer. So I'm gonna jump to a 9 gallon just to see that
Okay.
nine
Yeah, because
gallon
I have
might be it.
15 across right now and 1 foot high.
So let me see. 9 gallon. Nine. Mhm. Ah, so, 10 gallon nursery pots. Cool. So somebody has a little guide for the dimensions.
Oh,
Um, let me take let me copy this so that I can post that in the chat. So 10 gallons would be 15 3/4 wide and then 15 tall. So still slightly smaller. So
yeah, it's about the same width across as I've got.
yeah. So
So got the
maybe going to yeah,
Hmm,
ooh,
it's getting bigger.
moving up, yeah, moving up. Let me try 13 gallon. Okay, 15 gallon. Let's see, 15 gallon nursery pot, and that will be okay. So that's 16 by 16 by 14 high. So
Okay.
16.5 um
All
by
right.
14
That's
high.
an
That's a
inch
little
bigger
bit better. That's
and
a little
it's
bit
two
bigger,
inches
yeah.
taller. Is that good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So just for,
great.
for like that transition, so that's a 15 gallon. Um, and I'm last one I'm gonna look is just a 20,
Okay.
just to see, and it looks like you can buy them. Yep. And nursery pot, that is not 20 gallon. That's a 20 gallon. Okay. And specs. So 21 by 21. And 17 height. That might
That's
not
21 is
be,
way
yeah,
bigger than the 15.
yeah. Hmm.
So are we
I mean, if you
back at
didn't fill it all the way with soil, so if you left like some space at the top,
yeah,
that
yeah.
might be okay.
Okay, but the 15 gallon sounds like it's the best, right?
Yeah, 15 looks
Okay,
like it's the closest at
I'll
the
find that
moment, but
somewhere.
yeah, but it looks like you can get even like 20 gallons. So, um,
Okay.
oh, Suzanne says 20 gallons are nice for on a patio. It's about the same as a half barrel. Ooh, okay.
Oh gosh.
Thank
Well, this
you.
is in a very, very small apartment, very small living room. It's the largest thing in the living room. Well, thank you so
Oh,
much. You've
you're
saved
very
me a lot of
welcome.
tears.
Oh,
Does the soil tell me how many gallons is in the bag? I think it does.
yes, the bags should definitely
Okay.
tell you how many
Okay.
gallons. And so I mean, in terms of how much perlite, I would say probably try to at least go for like a third of your mixture should be perlite
Oh,
so
okay.
that it has a nice amount of drainage in there. So there's a lot of organic material, but it has that space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my friend doesn't know what's coming when he said he'd help me. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
You're
I'm glad
very,
you
very
helped me because I
welcome.
could never do this by myself and push it over and pick it up. And thank you so
No,
much.
of course, of course. I'm
I'll let
happy to
other
help.
people talk now. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. I'll
Good
mute
luck.
me.
Definitely keep
Thank
us
you.
updated.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, it's getting to that time. Spring is here. I saw a very funny video over the weekend that somebody posted that was because what we got we yeah, it was the 21st, I think, was the official like for the northern hemisphere for spring. And we had gotten snow and stuff in the last week. And so someone was posting a video getting pummeled by snow, going, "Spring, fight back, fight back." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." But yeah, we're getting there. We're getting to that. There's so many flowers here. All the daffodils are coming out. I started to see the tulips are starting to peek out. The foliage, not the flowers yet, but definitely the foliage. I've seen snowdrops, which are galanthus as well. Um, I'm starting to see uh, yeah, the Bradford pears and calorie pears that we have here are starting to flower. We've seen we had some really early cherry blossoms that started coming out. We were a little nervous there. Um, but yeah, some peach trees too. So everything is starting to come out. I saw my first so cardinals don't leave during the winter here in New York. They definitely hang around, but I had not seen one since the fall. I hadn't seen any. You can go into parks and definitely see them, but I don't know. I never tend to see them during the winters in the more like, urbanized like neighborhood areas. And so I started hearing them about 2 weeks ago. I started hearing cardinals again. And I was like, okay, that's a great sign. And then over the weekend, I think it was actually yesterday. Um, and I heard it again, and it actually landed in we have two ash trees in front of our building. And I was able to catch the red. Another really cool thing is um, the tree that's right next to our fire escape. So we have two ash trees. So one is here and one is here, like directly behind me, essentially. Like that's the bedroom. So they're like here and here. And so this tree, which is where our back window is with the fire escape, two crows are making a nest. And so they had started, and then I thought they abandoned it. It was a few weeks ago. I saw them kind of there, and I saw them putting sticks. And then we had a really bad, like, rainstorm, and there was so much wind, and a bunch of the sticks had fallen, and I could see them like all over the sidewalk. So I was like, okay, I guess that was a bad place to build a nest. So I didn't think anything of it. And then, yeah, over the last week or so, they have been working steadily on it, and it actually is coming together. And so I don't want to scare them. So I was trying to take pictures through. through the curtain. Oh, I did take a picture of the cardinal. It's through my curtain. Again, I didn't want to pull my curtain and see it. You could just see that. Oh my gosh, let me see if I can lower the. You can just see that speck of red. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to like pull my curtain and scare the poor thing. The crows have definitely been scaring our birds. Tilly, our little parrot, and Julia are both getting very jumpy because when the crows fly by the window, they're very large. Crows are large, and so it's just this dark shadow, and so it sends them all into a little tizzy. Um, so so yeah, but here I was trying to film through my curtains. Um, So they're building the nest in the crook right there. You can see it's shaping. They're shaping it. They're shaping it. And yeah, so there was one in the nest itself. See, you could kind of see her, so she's kind of getting it ready. And then her mate is out collecting more sticks. So I'm gonna try to keep an eye on it. It survived the weekend rainstorm, so I'm gonna cross my fingers that they're able to raise some babies there. So it's pretty cool. We haven't had a nest in that tree in a while. Um, so it's very cool, and they're literally right outside our window. So uh I was telling Brian I want to befriend them. And so I was saying that we should start giving them offerings of food and stuff to put on the fire escape and maybe some shiny things and see if they'll they'll be friendly with friendly with us. So they are pros are incredibly intelligent. So but yeah, so that's and the ash trees they're still yeah, bare. So no green there yet. But a lot of green is coming back. We're starting to see like grasses come up again, and it's nice to see the color after so much gray and starkness for several months. I just felt like, gosh, this winter felt long to me. Weirdly enough, it really started late because I think we were getting 60-degree days in December. So I know that, yeah, we definitely uh we were all like, yeah, we want snow. And then we got snow, a little bit of snow, and then we got the really cold temperatures and we're like, okay, we're ready for spring now. So yeah. Oh, Suzanne, they would like strings for the nest. Yes. Yeah, I was telling Brian like maybe like materials, um, like ribbon and strings, and you can buy like fluff for nesting materials. So yeah, I want to see if we can make some offerings and get the crows to see us as friends. Um, and oh, I'm so happy that your cardinal came back to your feeder a week ago. Yeah. And it's like I've seen them in Central Park, like when there's snow out. I've seen cardinals because they'll stay with their mates. They'll stay in New York City, but I just don't see them in our neighborhood. I will see woodpeckers. I've seen like woodpeckers in our neighborhood. Um, Even chickadees during the winter. We get a few that will stop on by. But yeah, but I don't see cardinals during the winter. The majority of the birds that we're seeing in the winter gosh, are like gulls. We see a lot of gulls in our neighborhood, and then of course pigeons, which are not endemic to New York City. Same with the European starlings, um, which just a few years ago I learned that yeah, that the starlings were actually introduced as well. So I knew that house sparrows were introduced, but also starlings were introduced. And in Europe, where the starlings are from, they're actually endangered. Um, and that happens a lot, not only with bird species, but we find that that happens a lot even with plant species. So a lot of plants that are, uh, introduced here in the United States are growing here wild, like weeds. And then where they actually are endemic to, where they're from, native to, uh, there might be something going on, like construction or pollution, or rising temperatures or things like that, and that are causing that population to drop. And while here, it's growing merrily. It's just, um, yeah. There are some really cool uh, papers and things. Was a really wonderful lecture actually. And it was about the Himalayas. I'll see if I can find the link and I'll post it. But it was about I'm trying to remember what the flower was called. I don't know if it's like a snow lily or snow rose, and it's not a lily and it's not a rose. It was like a common name. Snow something, but it grows along these alpine sections in the Himalayas, so very high altitude. And it's known traditionally for its medicinal uses. And these plants, they were being over harvested. So people were literally going and harvesting the ones with the biggest flowers, and literally just removing entire plants from the mountainside to the point where they're not growing in that spot anymore because nothing was left behind, no root, nothing. What's actually happening now is that the ones that are now plentiful are actually the ones with smaller flowers, because so many of the ones with large flowers, they have been taken out of the gene pool. So they're not getting those larger flowers anymore. Now it's the smaller ones, and it wasn't, um, and which is ironic because the humans, right? They were looking specifically for the ones with the largest, but they didn't leave enough to reproduce, to kind of replenish themselves. And so now, uh, what would be considered like undesirable specimens are the ones that are plentiful and starting to take over. Oh, I feel like an itch. Whew. But yes, and there was a great lecture about that, and just how it started, and to the point where it's out of, so it's countries that are outside of like like Nepal, and it's out of there. So there's like European, even American companies that were hiring these people, and they were dropping them off like by the busload to collect these types of plants. And so, um, yeah, and they've just completely changed the landscape. And so this is something that's, it's just like one example of what overharvesting can do. It's similarly with a lot of medicinal plants. So if anybody is growing certain medicinals in their yards, it's just things to consider. Is this plant native? And if it's growing really great in your yard, it's always great to try to propagate it a little bit more, and make sure, especially if it's native to that area, promote native plants. So if it's happy and growing in your yard, grow more of it, so that it has a chance to continue. Definitely, especially because if they have relationships with local pollinators and things like that. There's a great book, Nature's Best Hope. I think it's Nature's Best Hope, by Doug Tallamy. He's written quite a few books, so check his books out, if you're interested and you have like land and you're growing things. Barbara asked, I have two small jade branches in water, tiny roots on the bottoms. Should I put them in soil or wait? Four individual leaves with sprouted ends did not make it. Ooh, okay. Um, it depends on how big the roots are. So, I would say you want to wait till maybe they're at least like an inch at the smallest. Um, yeah, like an inch at the smallest. So,
Hi, thank
uh,
you. Then they're not ready yet. Thank you
oh
so
yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
And
I
glad to
mean,
see you. This is great. And previous things, yes, we still have baby potatoes from the pot of fingerling potatoes, all of our things that we have. It's inside. It overgrew the winter again, another good winter of that. But other stuff, my years and years of geraniums are coming to an end. I am no longer the geranium whisperer, keeping them going. I have one little thing left. I always had like 8 and flowers in the winter, no more. I don't know. I'm gonna have to break down and buy some.
oh
Very sad.
man, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Yeah, with the and with the, with the little jade plants, if you did want to start to acclimate them to kind of get ready before you start to root them, you could put them now with the tiny roots. You could put them in a little, you could put perlite or leca into what they currently have in their little water propagation thing. So you could put like leca or perlite, and that definitely will help them kind of develop stronger roots as well. And it might actually make the roots grow slightly faster as well.
Okay,
Um,
I will. Thank you.
so you're welcome. Yeah, I love to do that with like my succulent cuttings. And so I start to see some roots and I add some type of medium. So I started also using ceramsite, which is like little balls of ceramic. It's really pretty. So I wanted to try it. So I literally bought a bag this big just to try it, and so far so good. Or you can add like leca or a pawn if you have pawn instead. I do want to try stratum. Has anybody here tried stratum yet? If you have, let me know. So it's a black pebble and it's used in fish tanks. And I see everybody using it now for water propagating to make like hydrogen. Oh, here we go. There we go. Um, but yes, I see everyone doing it, and so I definitely want to try it. So if anybody has tried stratum, let me know because I'm eager to try yet another medium, just out of curiosity because I've been slowly trying each one just to see. And oh my gosh, I'm seriously again sorry about the geraniums. I hope because I know you mentioned it was like your lighting changed. It was like
Thank you.
the
Oh yeah, it's
intensity,
wonderful.
everything
Long
just like
time.
changed.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm so so sorry. But best of luck. Hopefully, if you do find some new ones, maybe these can acclimate to the current conditions.
Hope
But
so.
it sucks starting over. I'm so sorry.
It's because we love them all, I know.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's insanely difficult. Yeah, I feel you there. So yeah, with especially just, plants you oh man, especially if you've just had them for so many years and it's become like a
Yes, yes.
staple and you feel like you know that plant, you know what it likes, what it doesn't like, and then something
Yes, and
happens.
flowers in the winter. And in the pandemic, they were leaning over a little crooked as I was also. Of course.
Yeah, you come to just, they become true friends. They're just um oh man. Yeah. It's seriously, it just sucks. And we, oh man, for us, just these recent years and having, especially like the thrips, we had two thrip infestations. Like, it took out so many plants that we had for so long, and then it's just this thing that you're just constantly battling against. Um, it's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Right now there is something, and I don't know what it is. I actually have to get in contact with someone because I saw it maybe like a year ago, and they look like they're these little black mites. I thought they were some type of spider mites, but I'm not sure. I want to get like the accurate species of it. And I saw it on a philodendron that I have, that I think is a crassinervium, crassinervium. I'll show you in a second, and it's like this paddle philodendron that I purchased, and I never had seen it before, and I saw it on those. I cleaned them off, and I didn't see them again for a really long time, and so I thought, okay, then that was that. And then I recently started seeing them on the same plant again, but now I saw them also on the little ponytail palm that was next to it, and on a ZZ cutting that was close by to it too. So I cleaned them all off, and I really want to see if I can get those identified because uh, they they're I don't know, they just seem to move in a certain way. So they must be some type of mite, but I don't know. But I will show you the plant I'm talking about because it's a very odd philodendron. I got it as a one leaf cutting. It was like last July, September, the original mother leaf died. But it has given me consistently new leaves. Um, when I had a fall, not this December, but the December before, I had, I don't know if you recall, if anyone recalls that, I was watering my agave and I fell off the ladder onto the shelf of plants and I bruised my ribs. That was a horrific experience, very, very painful. Uh, don't get on a ladder without someone present, please. I learned that the hard way. Thank goodness I didn't break my ribs, but I did bruise them, and that was not fun to heal from. But during that, I had damaged some of the plants because I fell with the shelf, So um, I had damaged it, and the new leaf that was coming in, and the leaf is still there. It has the damage, but it's still there. It's still there, and it's coming out. It has since come out with yet another leaf, and now it's coming out with its fourth leaf with a fifth leaf on the way. And this is one of my favorite philodendrons that I own. And so I've had it now, I want to say 2 years, maybe a little bit more. Um, it's a very odd philodendron. So this is the one that I damaged. So when let me see, this was the new leaf after the mother leaf was this leaf. Then this leaf came out, and this is when I fell. So when I fell, I just the shelf, everything crushed it, so it damaged the leaf, but it stayed strong and it's still there all all this time with the damage. Then it put out this third leaf. Just look how gorgeous this is. So this is very succulent. So it's the only philodendron that I own. We have quite a few, but that has this type of texture. It's very much like a succulent. I have to say the closest thing I could say is like a snake plant. Very, very like thick and sturdy type of leaves. Really beautiful. And now it's coming out with this fourth leaf. You could see it's starting to develop here, coming out. And it has, here's the caterpillar here, and the other leaf is right there, that little red line that you're seeing right there, that is another leaf coming in. And this one's really cool because its roots actually have some red in it. There you go. Look at those roots. They're red. Very cool. This is mostly perlite with some it was, what did I put in here? It was like an experimental mix that I had done. It was worm castings, cocoa coir, not activated, horticultural charcoal, and I didn't put any wood chips. Um, yeah, I think that was basically it. And then I put perlite, and because when I received it, it was just a stick. It had no roots. It had like the beginning of some roots, but it really didn't have any actual roots. And I wanted it to start to grow and start to make its way into the mix, but I didn't want it to stay consistently moist because it was so succulent, and I'd never owned this type of philodendron before. And so I decided to kind of experiment and do this, and it has since grown its roots, and they went into the mixture. I do think I think maybe this year I will be upgrading it, um, giving it some more mixture, uh, and kind of taking out some of that perlite. But it's a very cool philodendron, very odd. If any of you have seen it, I had not even heard of it before I purchased it. So the person I purchased it from, they were selling a bunch of random cuttings, and this was one of them. And they said that they weren't sure what it was. Um, they found the scientific name when they did sell it to me, and he gave me the scientific name, and he said, but other than that, I don't know much about it. I've had it for a while, and he had, he'd been growing it for a while, and he made a cutting, and he was like, so I'm just selling this cutting. I think it was like 15 or 20 bucks, something like that. And um, I liked it because it was odd, and I'd never seen a philodendron like this. This is just not a, when I look at this, I don't think philodendron. I think more anthurium. I think more like anthurium, or even an orchid even. Because of those paddle like leaves. It's just not, it doesn't scream philodendron to me. But yeah, it's been doing really lovely. And I actually saw they were selling this at the Reptile Expo that we went to a few months ago. So plants are very much in the um, animal scene because of the growing popularity of bioactive tanks. So people are building these little ecosystems, and they need plants. And so we saw a seller there, and they were actually selling one of these. And that was the first time I'd ever seen uh, another specimen of this plant. Um, so it was very, very cool. So I wanted to show you, but this is the one that it gets affected by these little black mites that I'd never seen before. I give it a good wash, and I keep an eye on it, and then I don't see them, and then I see them again. So I'm gonna, you know, continue to wash it and keep an eye on it because it doesn't look like it's very much getting bothered by it, but I definitely don't want it to affect any of the new growth. And I don't want it to be something that could spread very rapidly to my other plants. But did want to show you this really interesting philodendron, and it's just growing in like the craziest way. So it's in a western window, um, and so our western window is a courtyard. So it there's a wall right across it, so it's getting the light from above. So it's pared down from how strong Western light could be, especially in the evenings. So thankfully it hasn't burned them or anything like that, none of those plants, but it really, really likes that strong light. and it moves towards the window. Um, so yeah, they're all these leaves are growing towards the window. And I've tried to kind of I rotate it, I turn it to kind of, give it just some more even light, but it wants to grow um right up to the window. It's like reaching out to the window. So yeah, just to show you this odd one. And I think it's the crassynervium. Crassynervium. The only philodendron I saw that kind of looks like it. I'm trying to remember the name. No, not elegans. I saw it at I think I had a picture of it. No, it was at the botanical garden. And I remember I saw it and I said, that looks like my crassynervium, but the leaves weren't as thick. And I was telling Brian, I think it was elegans. Maybe I didn't take a photo. I thought I did. I really have to edit these photos, these videos, especially because I took so much video. So I want to make sure that I can share it with everyone and everyone can enjoy it. Um, oh yeah, like this, what was it? The silk tree. And look at the spikes on that. So I got so much footage that I definitely wanna share with everyone, so that you can enjoy some very odd plants that were growing there. Yeah, I thought I took a picture. Ah man, I guess I didn't. I just passed the yeah. Oh, I did see this gorgeous euphorbia. Look how huge that was. And that is a white ghost, a euphorbia white ghost. Absolutely beautiful. There's a little bit of glare here, so you're not seeing. It does have some green on it, so that's how it does. It is able to photosynthesize, um, but it does have this really gorgeous white color, and they were kind of inexpensive for a while, and you could get like, first it was like really expensive, and then the I said temperature. Oh my gosh, my brain. The price dropped after COVID. I was seeing people selling, pieces and small specimens for like 20 bucks, 30 bucks, much more doable. And then the price went up again. And so then I saw people selling smaller specimens again, um, uh, for like, even like cuttings, like 40, $50, and larger specimens, anywhere from like 75 to 100 for a nice plant. So it shot back up again. So I regret not grabbing it. I had gotten one during COVID. I got a cutting, and I think I got it for like 30 or 40, which at the time was a steal. Um, but it was not rooted. Um, and yeah, I was not able to successfully root that one. The base, I think it just rotted out, and I tried to like cut it back, and I do want to try again because I would like to have that type of euphorbia since I collect euphorbia. So that's on my bucket list. Oh, George says if you visit SoCal, the silk tree, the Seba ID, is a street tree. What? Occasionally you see it in Tucson. That is amazing. Oh, that is super cool. Yeah, I loved the bark on that. Just those spikes. very, very cool. I definitely liked seeing that. I love just, yeah, interesting bark like that. Has anyone seen persimmon bark? It reminds me of like of alligator, of like the alligator scales. It's just really kind of like squared. Very, very cool. I really, yeah. That's so cool that you could see it just like that. Yes, Terry, otherworldly. It definitely is. It definitely is. Um, yeah, gosh, and I just there's not enough time in the day. But what I'm hoping is Brian is wants to download some new like editing software, and so that we can finally get. I have so many tours that I really want to show everyone. Um, and hopefully then I can get those going so that I can show everyone and everyone can just enjoy and check them out, if they weren't able to see them in person. Let me see. Okay, let's see. There was yeah, the exhibit if you are um in New York, check out the orchid show at the at the New York Botanical Garden. I know that the Queens Botanical Garden and the Brooklyn Botanical Garden are starting to, unveil like their new exhibits. So I definitely want to go, check those out. But yeah. Ooh, there is an alligator juniper, Juniperus, Pipina, uh, native to Arizona, named for its bark. Okay, I need to see that. Let's see what that looks like. Here we go. Oh, it pulled it out. Here we go. Ooh, that's cool. Whoa, it's up to 60 feet. Width at maturity, 20 to 30 feet. Wow, that is gorgeous bark. Holy moly. Um, is it there? Hold on. I think there's this great book that I have. Um, there it is. Now, it's only for the Northeast. I don't know if the author has released um don't know if the author has released books for other localities. But it's called Bark: A Field Guide to the Trees of the Northeast by Michael um Wolf Wolftek Wolftek. Um, let me see. But that is super cool. I really like that. It's like the persimmon bark. Here we go. So for those of you who have not seen persimmon bark, it has this really cool, cool texture to it that I really enjoy. Um, and again, I think I'm just attracted to the odd, to odd plants. So, so I'm like, yeah, it tracks. Um, oh, the website that I just looked at. Um, this was just says so it's the Maryland Department of Natural Resources that I just looked at for the um persimmon bark, and for the alligator juniper, it was the UC Davis Arboretum and Public Garden. So this was the that. Um, and the book that I mentioned is this one, and it's called Bark. So a field guide to trees of the Northeast. Uh, this is super awesome. What I love is that it shows you the bark through its life stages. And so a lot of the different tree identification books and guides that I have, typically it kind of shows you here's the leaf, here's the branching pattern, and this is what the bark looks like. And it usually shows you the mature bark. But bark changes as it grows. And so what's great about this book is that it shows you what the young tree bark would look like, and then as it ages, how it changes. So sometimes the bark might look a little lighter and then it darkens, or vice versa. It might start looking a little bit darker and then lightens with age. Also, as it grows and the like furrows could get much deeper, um, even like the texture could look really different. So I really appreciate that from this guidebook. But again, it's really only geared for species in the Northeast. But here you can see, for instance, um, this is paper birch. So you can see some of the differences between uh, the young and the mature, and just how drastically different that could look. I know, for instance, there are some trees that when they're much younger, you can really see the lenticels. And so these are these pores essentially that allow for gas exchange. They're usually found on bark, but they're also found on other parts of the plant. Uh, but when the tree is younger, it can be much more visible. So one thing like the Polonia trees, which are also called the princess trees, they are introduced from Asia, but when they're small, you can really make out those lenticels, where when they're older, it's kind of obscured by the bark. Um, Another really cool one is like sweet gum. So when sweet gum is young, it looks very different than its mature counterpart. But what's even cooler is sweet gum, young sweet gum trees. They get this really odd growth pattern that's kind of it flares outward. And so the branches almost look like they have wings. So you have a branch and then it looks like a flat, it's almost as if somebody peeled the bark off and just kind of left a wing there on the branch. And it looks very, very odd. It's a very odd growth, but it's a great way to identify them because it looks so different. And so, yeah. Um, so, yeah, sure. Sorry, George. So this is just for the Northeast. Michael, Wolftek, Wolftek, Wishtek. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but Michael, and it's a field guide to trees of the Northeast. So I'm in New York. So I don't know if he's made other. books. I think this is the only book of his that I own, as far as I recall. Um, but yeah, he definitely um goes really, really deep into it. Here, like yeah, even like cottonwoods. So you could just see the differences, right, between the young trees and the older trees. So I always loved bark. I used to take a lot more impressions of bark when I was younger, and I definitely want to go back to doing that because I very much enjoyed that. This is a sycamore. Ah, yes, I forgot that sycamore's common name is buttonwood. Um, so this is a young sycamore, and this is the American sycamore. And then as it's older, the base becomes what you would think more of like a traditional tree, right? It's much more covered in bark, and the white peeling kind of part are kind of relegated to the crown, so like the top canopy. It's like the higher parts of the tree versus the hybrid, which is the London plane tree that we know. So that's the mix between Occidentalis, so it's the Oriental and the European species, I believe. And that was introduced here because it's a very hardy street tree, and now we find them everywhere. But that one keeps that peeling kind of effect pretty much down to the root. So it doesn't have that kind of like the American sycamore that will develop that more furrowed type of bark pattern. That was actually a really cool story. That was an accidental cross, and so if according to the history, but both of those trees were being kept, um, and it was an accidental hybridization. So it wasn't that a botanist purposely mixed those trees. It was just they just mixed. and some I've heard that it was like at a botanical garden, and it just happened, when, like, right, they were close to each other. And in other accounts of that story, it was that the young trees were mature enough, but were within a like greenhouse conservatory type of setup. And so it made it even more likely that they could hybridize. So yeah, I've heard both. Yes, Gabby, yes. I've always thought the sycamore bark looks like a camouflage pattern. It does. It definitely does. It has that camo type of look, especially when it gets wet. Very, very much camouflage. Um, and there is that myth. It's more so a myth, but that Robert Moses, I believe, was he a mayor or a governor? I can't remember, but of New York City, and the story goes that that was his favorite tree, and so that's why the trees were planted all over New York City. There's rows of that tree everywhere. And others say it's not that it was his favorite tree, but rather it was a pretty available and cheap uh, tree. And so that's why it kind of became kind of top of the list because it was hardy, required less maintenance. It was cheap to source, easy to plant up, and more of them survived after being transplanted into these tree pits, and living in the city. And so it was just that's why they were picked. So, but the big issue with that is apparently those trees only really live out their lives to be about a century old. And so, about 80 years ago, several of them uh, were planted at the same time, the majority of the ones that we see today. So, like if you go to Bryant Park, for instance, it's full of them. Uh, there's streets, as I said, that are just like lined with these mature old sycamores, and they are starting to die. So, yeah, so they're starting to die off, and um, it's, the Parks Department, a few years ago, it was like right before COVID, I went to this meeting, um, where the Parks Department was discussing this. And so they were, because I do things like tree pruning and stuff for the city. And yeah, they were talking about how, they weren't really prepared for this. So this is something that they were now trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do? Because a lot of these trees are starting to hollow out and die. The branches can start coming down during storms. It's going to cause a lot of damage, and it could be a potential risk, a walking hazard, right, on people that are walking or living with those trees right next to their houses, or next to power lines, parks, and that so many of them are going to have to come down in a very close span of time, and then will have to be replaced. But then they'll be replaced with young trees, which, it's going to take a while before they can build up that biomass and mature to that size. So a lot of places that maybe enjoyed a lot of shade because of these really big mature trees, a lot of them would be gone. And so it's no longer going to be the case. So like a lot of little microclimates that were kind of established, uh, you know, is going to uh, not not be they're going to cease to be, I should say, and they're kind of going to start over. So So if you do have a sycamore, and it has been on your property, for well over 50 years, maybe even 80 years, that is something to consider. Oh no, so Suzanne says, had a neighbor whose house was destroyed by one of these trees falling in a storm. Yes, and so they do have that habit where when that tree is dying, usually the heartwood tends to rot, and so the kind of dead wood that usually serves as, think of it like the skeleton, kind of that dead wood in the center that acts like a pole, right? To kind of hold the tree up. Um, when that dies, it's only the living tissue that's around it. But now the structural integrity of that tree is very precarious. Um, so something like, like a storm or heavy snow, things like that can cause the tree to fall. So you want to be very, very mindful. So if again, if you have those trees close to your property, and you're kind of been nervous, we have quite a few. We have, I think one on our block all the way at the end, and the one across the street is rotting. So the inside. So we see a lot of Ganoderma, which is the same species as reishi, but it's Ganoderma. Is it sylvestris? It's Ganoderma with an S, the specific epithet, but the type of fungi. But it's typically when a tree is dying that it appears, and it appears towards the base. You might see it kind of in the crevices, like in the hollows. So it's working, it's doing its job. But then that means that tree, and it's leaning out towards the street. So, that's one that the Parks Department has to keep an eye on. And then one of the sycamores that's on the opposite side of, so behind us, so like our block is like a circle. So behind us, yeah, it lost the whole canopy, fell off last year during a big storm. And so it's just like half of a tree with like one branch. So yeah, and there's a lot. I think there's like two more right next to it. So this is something that's definitely going to affect our neighborhood. and it's affecting a lot of people's neighborhoods. And yeah, if especially if that tree is so large, it could totally destroy a house. Absolutely. And I'm so sorry to hear that that happened. Jeez. Mary Goot. Oh, Robert Moses. I think he was Parks Commissioner and wanted to pave over Greenwich Village. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, maybe he was a Parks Commissioner. I know he was a politician. So I was like, I know he had uh some overview. And so there's just those myths that have come that it was his favorite tree, but then others say it wasn't, that it was his favorite tree. It just happened to be the most readily available. And so, oh, and thank you, George. Um, Thank you for putting the hybridized the two species that hybridized. Yes, for the London plane tree. So the sycamore, we still call it the sycamore, but it's different from the American sycamore that we have here. Um, and Mary Goot, oh, he tried to send a highway through the village. Oh gosh. I've been trying to get more books on like New York City history. I have one, I haven't started it, that's all about the history of Central Park and everything from like Seneca Village. So, all the people that had to lose their homes for the park to be built, and just that tragedy of like kicking these people out, um, and especially like people of color, and having, like, hey, here you go, we're gonna build a park. Um, and yeah, it talks more about like the designers and all the how like it was like delayed, and so I am definitely, that's on my to be read. I really want to learn more about how the park came to be, because the most I knew is I knew that the design, there was like a competition to see who would design it, and so I recall that. And yeah, but I have that book, and I'm eager to learn more definitely about it. There was a play, and it was during COVID, and so they were streaming it, and it was about Seneca Village. And I'm trying to remember what it was called. Maybe it was called Seneca. It's a great play, but it basically about the holdouts and the folks that didn't want to take. Some people were paid and some people weren't. And so it was a very, very great, it was a good play. I'll try to see if I can find it. George, oh, the ceiba. So the silk tree, the one with all the spikes, is also the national tree of Guatemala. That's awesome. The most important, is it ceiba? Ceiba. In Guatemala is known as La Ceiba de Palín Escuintla, Escuintla, which is over 400 years old. Ooh, that is cool. Very, very cool. Gabby, a lot of city park planning and fighting between James Jacobs and Robert Moses. Ooh, thank you. I definitely want to look more into that. And Connie posted an article. Ooh, so Central Park came, let's see. Before Central Park came Seneca Village, the Black community hidden in the heart of Manhattan. Ooh, okay. Thank you. Yes. So the park's establishment displaced a thriving Black settlement. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Lenape homeland. Yep. Oh, thanks for posting that. Yeah, I definitely want to learn more, not only about that, but just like a lot about the history of a lot of the big city parks. So I have permits. So Central Park is different. Central Park has its own what they called a conservancy, and so they have like their own group. So we're not allowed to go there and as like super stewards or stuff with the city to cut things. or like remove plants or things like that. Um, but we can lead tours and things like that, sure, but we just can't like mess with anything because they have their own like group for that. But for other city parks like Forest Park, Alley Pond Park, the Ridgewood Reservoir, things like that, you can get permits if you're in the city and you're from the city and you've taken the training to work in these parks. As like for instance, I am certified to be a trail maintainer, and also to remove non-native plants from these parks. And so, yeah, if anybody ever does the training and or you're getting ready for the training and you want to kind of learn like what you would need to know, like I'm always happy it's an excuse to go to the park. So let me know, and we can always go to a park that you're interested in going to within New York City, and check it out, and I can kind of show you what they would expect you to know and how to do it. So if that is something, yeah, that you'd like to explore a little bit more, because yeah, it's a wonderful program, and then you can help out, keep the ecosystem happy, and help us kind of battle the onslaught of non-native species, because there's so many. There's so many um, non-native species that are so prevalent in our parks that a lot of people think that they belong there. And what people don't realize is that a lot of these plants were grown as garden plants. They were beautiful ornamental plants that people had in their garden, maybe even started them inside the house and then moved them out into the garden, where then they are predated upon by wildlife. And it could either be the wind takes the seeds, right? Or an animal, a bird or a rodent takes those seeds, consumes them, goes to another location, where then, once they go to the bathroom, those seeds are planted in places where they otherwise wouldn't have been, and then they start to take over. So, like bittersweet, wild rose, garlic mustard, dandelions have become what is known as naturalized, but they were introduced. Same with plantain, burdock as well, mugwort, uh, wineberry. Those None of those belong in New York City parks, but they're everywhere. They are all over our parks, to the point where again people think, well, that's normal. That's those are the plants that are growing in our parks. And then what's happening is that a lot of those plants are inedible. So they're plants that our local wildlife don't recognize as a food source. So even though in their native ecosystems they're eaten, so they're controlled, in our ecosystem they have no predators. Nobody's going to eat them. So there's nothing to keep them in check. And so they continue to spread, and then they take over. And what happens is that this park that looks beautiful and green and lush and there's flowers everywhere, well, it's a food desert. And it's very, I think that's what I hope to introduce more to folks, is to really, realize, well, no, none of these are native. And so the animals, that's why you're not maybe seeing that many birds in that area, or you're not seeing much wildlife, because there really is a scarcity of food. Although it looks like it's abundant, there's just not, there isn't enough food, because none of this is edible to them. So it could just be that, yeah, they don't recognize it, or in some cases, some of these species are just not good for our local species. So yeah, um, it's tough. Gabby, all the white paper birches in my parents' neighborhood, Long Island, died from disease. They're so beautiful, and I don't even know if they exist anymore in the region. Do you? So there are. I'm not sure. Gosh, I know there is birch. There is birch bark disease. There's also, um, I know that the what is it? The green, um, emerald green tree borer, emerald green tree borer. I think so. Um, we have had a lot of critters that are really damaging huge amounts of trees, and uh, the emerald ash borer. There we go. But they don't just attack ash trees. They do attack other types of trees as well, and I think birch is among them. But then there's also just diseases that are spreading, fungi that are also spreading, that can devastate trees, especially if they're growing very close together in what is called monocultures. So there's like big groupings of the same tree, especially if they're all like offspring, the same, from the same seeds, and they end up all being susceptible to whatever pathogen because they're just genetically the same. So yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, no, even when we were driving up to Albany, there was huge sections of just tree die-off and from just this emerald ash borer, and a lot of beeches. There's beech bark disease, and so some trees are inoculated. So you might see sometimes street trees. You might see them with like little flags, and it says that the tree has gotten inoculated. So it's like a vaccine, but for trees that will help protect them from certain pathogens. But they certainly can't get to all the trees, especially ones on like private property. Yeah, Barbara, have a great one. Thank you so much for hopping in. Oh, Brenda, the story of Kochia? Is it Kachia? Kachia or Kochia? Kachia. I think Kachia. Ornamental that escaped and spread across the US. The birch borer. There we go. Yep. Oh no. Gabby says, I think the birches were wiped out or they're endangered. Oof. Yeah, I know that we definitely, you can still see paper birches, gray birches here in the city. We still river birch, black birch, No, I think black birch is sweet birch. Oh, sweet birch. Yeah. Um, and so, but yeah, then there's still, yeah, the white birches. Um, but yeah, if you're losing a lot, especially if there's a potentially it's a birch borer or something like that, the most that they could do is have a specialist come onto the land to do an assessment. And so then they will check the trees that have died for signs of what it is that might have killed them. And then they might need to get treated um, if they want to keep it from spreading, especially for different like pathogens or beetles or even things like that that could kind of jump from one species to another. So let's say um, they're more generalized and they're not kind of host specific. So they're not specialists. Like I'm only gonna eat birches, but they might actually eat other things, like the emerald ash borer, which um, won't just eat ash. It will attack other trees, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's a disease, not a pest. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I would have like you can have like a trying to remember what's the name of that company. Green Arbor? No. Green Tree Arbor, but they're tree specialists, and yeah, but you would basically have to find like a tree specialist to come and do an assessment and then kind of figure out what it is that was affecting those trees and then kind of give a game plan. Um, and also see if maybe there are young birches kind of hidden among the other trees, and maybe they could make a comeback um, if they've survived kind of the initial onslaught. Um, but yeah, you might have to speak to like a tree specialist if they want to do anything from keeping it from like continuing. Oh man, I'm so sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear Maple. I had to lock him in the bathroom. He has food, he has water, he has his litter boxes, but he's not happy. So I had to lock him because he just keeps, it'll be fine. And as soon as I hop on a Zoom, he decides he needs to jump on these plants. And I don't know why. He has gotten into that now. And so, if I'm sitting at my desk, he needs to hop. He just needs to go behind me. It's not even my lap. He starts to climb over here, and then he tries to climb here, and he's dropped so many plants. He's killed so many of my little succulents, um, succulents that I was rooting. So I've decided that when I'm doing my Zooms, I'm gonna have to put him in the bathroom just momentarily, but I can just hear him screaming. So I'm gonna go let him out because I think that that was enough. Um, but thank you so much, everyone, for hopping on and hanging out. I hope that your Monday continues on a good note, and that you have a great rest of your week. And yeah, enjoy the rest of March. Tomorrow's Brian's birthday, so um, we'll be celebrating Brian tomorrow. But yeah, I hope you have the rest of a great rest of your week. And for those of you that, are starting to experience signs of spring, I hope that you're enjoying them. And yeah, I hope that the crazy weather calms down too. But thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, enjoy enjoy the rest of your week. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Have a great one, everyone. Bye for now. You're very welcome, everyone.